Ready?
Hello, my friends.
Hit it.
Yep, here he comes. Riding his trusted steed through the Sierra foothills as he brings you the news.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
He calls himself
Charlie!
What you doing, Charlie?
Sorry, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. There you are. Look how cute you are. Yeah.
Hey, Charlie. What's with the dark glasses?
And now, here he is, a man of God, living in a world of Disney.
Ow, Charlie!
Charlie Simons.
Charlie bit me.
It was, let's see, a couple of months ago now, I was at the Freedom Festival in Las Vegas, and I'm standing in line at the bar, and hearing this guy talk, and I was like, wow, he's got quite a personality. He's a smart dude. I got to meet this guy, and I did. Naresh Vissa is his name, and I wound up able to get him on for an interview, and this interview went something like an hour and 47 minutes. And every single bit of it, I was absolutely fascinated. I had a great time. And then when it came time to actually do the production on it and post it, get it onto my Rumble channel, rumble.com/DoNotTalk, something happened. Something happened with the video. And I only got about 27 minutes with him. And it got cut off. And I'm like, what? Dang it. I went ahead and posted it anyway, but I vowed to have him back on again because he was a lot of fun. He reminded me of a younger Kash Patel, that kind of energy, that kind of knowledge, that kind of boldness, speaking out against what's going on in our current system of government. And he's I know he's in the financial sector, financial world, entrepreneur. And very active with the Republican Party. And I think he's an independent. Well, let's find out. He's on the show. He's on Do Not Talk. Hello, Naresh. Good to see you again, my friend.
Hey, Charlie, thanks. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, it was almost 4 months ago, I think.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's almost 4 months ago we met at Freedom Fest. And I remember telling you at the time, we got kicked out, if you remember, of the recording room because RFK had to come. And I think I told you at the time that I was leaning towards voting for RFK. Well, RFK is no longer running for president, but he is supporting the man up here, and that's who I'm voting for. Donald Trump, and I am a registered Republican, a card-carrying Republican.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you're on my side, our side. It was that was quite a time. It's the first time that's ever happened. Naresh and I were literally on the air live, and in walk these fully uniformed officers with dogs, all vested up, and they're going around sniffing everything. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And neither one of us knew at the time that Robert Kennedy Jr. was going to be in that room doing an interview with somebody. So I'm like, do I call attention to this or do I just act like nothing's going on? That was interesting, wasn't it? So what's going on in your world?
Well, we had done the interview for about 2 hours by that point. And like you said, I think you posted maybe 40 minutes worth of that interview, and it was great. I had a good time. Things have been good since then. I decided to throw my support behind President Trump. Largely not because of just RFK, but the next day after that interview was when this happened. Literally the next day after that interview. And after that happened, I said, this is going way too far, and there's no more being on the fence. Is it RFK? Is it Trump? I said, Trump is where we need to throw our support. He's the one who can turn things around. And what I definitely want to talk about, because things have gotten, as expected, things have gotten somewhat ugly. These past few weeks before the election, completely expected you're going to see, quote unquote, bombshell reports drop, all sorts of name calling, and I think a lot of people are losing their minds, especially on the left. They're completely losing their minds, and as of right now, Trump's winning. I'm pretty good at pinpointing when I when I told you Biden was the candidate for the Democrats when we last spoke, and I told you, I said, look, as he has this sound, Biden needs to stay the candidate because the other option is Kamala Harris, and she's going to do worse than Biden because at the time she was polling lower than Biden, and I still believe that she's going to do worse than Biden. When it was Trump v. Biden, it was expected that Trump would win 312 electoral votes and lose the popular vote. I now think Trump is going to outperform that and get well over 330 not well over, but more than 330 electoral votes and popular votes. That's how bad a candidate Kamala Harris is. That's not a knock on her. That's just who she is. There's nothing you can do about that. Nothing she can do about that. They tried hiding her for a while. I will say this. She had an excellent debate. The problem for her was that debate was so long ago that most of the voters don't. That's the issue with an early debate in September. She did, even the largest MAGA Trump supporters I know said she crushed that debate. She came in prepared. She did a good job. She memorized her talking points. She memorized her talking points. And she just did a really good job. That was in early September when that debate happened. That's almost 2 months before the election. And it was wise that the Trump campaign came out and said, we're not going to do another debate because J.D. Vance did an excellent job in his debate with Tim Walz. Excellent job.
That debate between Trump and what's her face was not the fact that which sadly I heard a lot of Republicans the next day on talk radio and so on bashing my president, saying he didn't do a good job and so on. How do you say that? I thought he did an extraordinary job, and he kept bringing back the focus to the border, the economy. He kept bringing it back. Look at what these people have been doing for 3.5, almost 4 years now. Look how they've brought this down, what they have, the wreckage that they have left behind. Do you want that? Do you want more of that? Then yeah, vote for her, vote for it. But I thought he did a really good job. Why are people so on my side saying he didn't in that debate? I know it's a little after the fact, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, a few things. Number one is, so Kamala Harris came in with, she memorized, she prepared, she knew what she had to do, what she had to say to get under Trump's skin. She succeeded at that. She had very little policy. The policy that she did share, I was actually, and Trump even said this during the debate. He said, "But I should get you a MAGA T-shirt. You sound like a MAGA Republican." And I was saying the same thing very early on. I said, "Oh wow, she said a $50,000 tax credit for small business or for you businesses." And I said, "Hey, that's Democrats are for tax credits or tax cuts for just giving away free money. There's a huge difference. We can talk about those differences. That's a prime difference between Republicans and Democrats. And I think that's a very important topic to talk about actually right after this. But when she started saying that, and then she started saying that she's looking forward to shutting the border and fixing our immigration system, yes, she did sound like a MAGA Republican. So yes, for someone like me, I was actually like, hey, I actually agree with these policies that she's stating, but she didn't focus much on policy. The focus of that debate for her was to get under Trump's skin, which she did. And yes, Trump did hammer home about 2 or 3 points about how terrible the Biden administration is, about the border. He hammered those home only because, again, those are the most important issues to the voters. But as far as the debate goes, like actually debating and the comeback, Trump was not at 2016 levels. He did well against Biden, but I mean, anybody could have done well against Biden in that debate. But he was not at 2016 levels where he had good comebacks. The moment Kamala Harris brought up, it had nothing to do with the questions she was asked. She was asked about the border, and then she started talking about Trump's rally, saying that people leave early from his rallies. That was just a bait. That was a complete bait, and that's where I felt Trump went downhill. And there was a period over a few weeks where I felt like Trump might actually lose to this unqualified moron, really. Like he actually might lose to her. He started going down in the polls. He started going down in the betting markets. And if you look at where the inflection point, where things turned around, it was actually that J.D. Vance debate. That was in early October, and you looked at when JD Vance did the debate. Much smoother, sticking to the policies, didn't even mention Tim Walz's name. If you watch that, which I thought was very impressive, he never mentioned Tim Walz's background or any of the controversial stuff that he's done in the past. It was like he was debating an imaginary Kamala Harris, which I thought was pretty incredible. And it was very cordial, smooth, and he's, without a doubt, he is the next guy up. Regardless of what happens next week, JD Vance is the guy for 2028. He showed in that debate, and even the New York Times was like, he did amazing. He did incredible. So, look, we can be for our candidate, but we can also respect the other side and say, hey, look, you did a good job. Congratulations. And even the left did that with JD Vance. And the right did that with Kamala Harris in that debate. She exceeded expectations. I thought she did even better than some of the best debaters I saw, like better than Ted Cruz. I think he's a great debater. I think Newt Gingrich is a great debater. Even Biden in 2012 in the VP debate did extremely well. Obama did well in 2 debates. Mitt Romney did fantastic in one of the debates in 2012. I actually thought Kamala Harris exceeded all that, beat all those expectations. But debates don't win you elections. I think that's been proven time and time again. Debates don't win you elections. They put you on the map. Your likability, your promotional ability, your marketing ability to get people out to vote for you, to feel that need to go and vote for this person, man or woman. That's what we can do elections. And remember, Trump in that debate, we live in a different time. This is not 30. I think 30 years ago, 20 years ago, Trump would have been in big trouble after that debate. Today, we live in a very Instagram, Facebook, TikTok world, and there were a handful of things Trump said during that debate that got way more attention, that went viral amongst the younger generation on TikTok, on Instagram, on X, than Kamala Harris. So your average 20-year-old who didn't watch the debate but watched the highlights of the debate actually came out thinking that Trump won the debate without even watching it.
I love how he started right out of the gate saying she's a Marxist. This woman is a communist. I was stunned by that, and I was like, that's brilliant. Thank you for doing that. That's fantastic. You set the ground. You set a great platform right there. Yeah, she's a Marxist.
She's fighting back, and she and the mainstream news media are fighting back, saying, well, he's a fascist. And this is what I'm saying, the name calling, that's expected. You were expecting this bombshell report to drop about Trump, I remember last Monday. And I was like, what is this bombshell report? And they were saying this is the effect of the campaign and Trump's going to be forced to drop out and all this stuff. And then they come out with this bombshell report that Trump is a fascist, he's Hitler. I mean, hasn't that been the report for the past 9 years? Like,
from that pathetic embarrassment to General John Kelly, it was appalling. It was ridiculous. And then they tried to throw another sexual allegation in there too at the same time. Yeah, that was their big bombshell.
That was their big bombshell. Look, at this stage, no one's on the fence. Everyone's made up their minds. I think most sane voters out there know that whatever comes out, whatever bombshell comes out, is probably going to be lame because it would have already been out before early voting, so it's not a big deal. Or it's just going to be a lie. One of those, you're going to get some anonymous source who says something, even on the Republicans, some anonymous source said something about Kamala Harris and something she did 30 years. That's what they did with John Kelly and other anonymous sources. That's the problem. Actually, one of my degrees is in journalism, and what you don't want to do is quote other people. You want to go directly to the primary source. You don't want to quote anonymous people. You want to go directly to the primary source. So anytime I see an anonymous source, and this is in sports too, if you follow sports, they always get anonymous sources at X point B. 99.9% of the time. So don't believe, doesn't matter which side, Republican or Democrat, don't believe anonymous sources.
Polling. Most people don't know how they even conduct these polls. When they're trying to do in person, They're always doing it where they're, I mean, because these pollsters they're getting paid to go out and get responses and per response. So they go to where people are more willing to talk, which is usually outside of a college campus or actually on campus. These are teens and early 20s folks who are, minds of mush, as Rush Limbaugh used to say. And they, of course, they're going to lean left. I don't trust any of the polls, even the ones that are supposed to be all that. So there's internal polling that the candidates have, though. And that seems to be indicating, despite what everyone else is saying, that it's a close race. The internal polling, there's nothing close about it. They've shown their hand. They've shown us who they are. Sexually grooming children, they're all for it. The men and women's sports, they're all for it. The attack
Cancel culture.
against, was that?
Cancel culture and canceling standardized tests, canceling math, canceling grammar classes. Why? Because they're hard and they cause inequities, and not everyone can be on the same grade. Not everyone can get A's. People get C's and D's, and therefore creates inequalities.
One thing that indicates to me that the polling is very bad for them is the fact that all those riots and protests that were happening on college campuses about the Israeli Hamas conflict all went away. They all just suddenly disappeared. All these protests quit. I don't think it was working well for them, was it?
Well, two things. Let me share the polling. Let me share what's going on right now and why I think Trump is going to win. Because, like I told you, after that debate, I actually thought, oh, this isn't looking good. There's still time to recover, but it was not looking good. So, a few things. First off, the poll now actually is not close. If you the top polling, you want to look at polling aggregates. You don't want to look at any one poll. Look at polling aggregates. So this would be basically an average of all the top polls out there. And there are a few sites that cover this. Two most popular. One is called 538. The other one is Real Clear Politics, RCP. RCP was spot on in the Republican primary. They polled, they aggregated all the polls, and I want to say like more than 80% of the time, Trump, and when it turned into Trump and Nikki Haley, even when you have four people in the field, Haley, Trump, DeSantis, and DeSantis, Real Clear Politics was within that margin of error, very, very accurate. So if you were to go to Real Clear Politics right now, you'll see Trump is up in the popular vote. He's up in the electoral college. He's winning quite handily. So we expected a Republican to be winning. In fact, I know people who thought the Republicans would never be able to win the popular vote. The fact that Trump is now, it's in play for him to win the popular vote shows that this actually isn't as close as left-wing media would make it seem. Left-wing media, they're melting down right now, and it's because they know this. And internal polling, well, that's RCP. The second thing we want to talk about is it's no different with 538. You can go to 538. See, Trump is up quite handily there. He's not winning the popular vote there, but he's close to casting the popular vote. According to their metrics, by the end of the week, he will. Next is the betting market. So the betting market would be like Vegas odds, or actually people putting their hard-earned money down on who they think is going to win. So there's actually skin in the game, whereas with polls, like you said, you say you don't believe the polls, they're polling the wrong people, they're polling all these young kids, they're making up polls. Well, with Vegas odds, people are actually putting down their own money because they are betting on what they believe. Trump is crushing the Vegas odds. He's anywhere between 60 to 65, maybe even 60 to 67% on in the betting market. So the most popular ones are Predictive and Polymarket. Those are the two most popular betting websites, if you want to call them. And you can see for yourself, Kamala Harris is in the lower 40s, Trump is in the mid 60s. So he's winning handily there. His interview with Joe Rogan helped beef up it. I mean, he actually
3 hours.
More than 3 hours. More than 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That was
what that is,
amazing to me.
that's the most popular podcast in the world, worldwide, not just in the United States.
Yeah.
And more than 95% of listeners are young men. These are men below the age of 50. So he definitely picked up some votes there on Joe Rogan. The Madison Square Garden rally. Now it's reached a point where, and the Harris campaign knows this, so far ahead that he's added New Mexico, which is not even in the margin of error right now. He's down, but they see momentum there to where by the time he does his rally later this week in New Mexico, he is going to be within the margin of error. The other state is Virginia, where he talk about early voting numbers because that's an important metric. But he added a rally to Virginia. The Democrats have a big problem because Kamala Harris now is cornered. She cannot go to the state campaign because the moment she goes to New Mexico, you're basically throwing in the towel on Virginia, on Pennsylvania, Michigan. She has to protect the swing states that everybody assumes were swing states. So Trump added New Mexico, he's added Virginia, and I heard rumors that he's adding Minnesota. That's now within the margin of error. And he's adding New Hampshire, which is now, in fact, a poll came out today of him winning in New Hampshire. So what I've seen, I don't know about New Mexico, that could be a stretch. But the early voting numbers in Virginia, and the early voting numbers, what a lot of people don't know and the media doesn't report. It's publicly available, the early voting numbers. You live in California, you can actually find the official election website and see how many Republicans have voted in California, how many Democrats have voted in California, how many independents have voted in California, and it'll give you a percentage breakdown. And what's happening, the crazy thing that's happening, I've looked at this data, Trump is crushing it. He's winning in all the swing states. Republicans are up, this running tally, Republicans are, meaning Trump is up in North Carolina, in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, in Nevada. Nevada was supposed to be close. He's up by so much in Nevada, according to these early voting numbers. The surprising thing, Virginia, he is up in Virginia, and he's only 2 points back in New Jersey. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win New Jersey, but the fact that in early voting, he's only 2 points behind in New Jersey, where I live in Florida, he's flipped Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade County, to my knowledge, has never voted Republican. He's up by 17 points there. Joe Biden won that county by something like 15 points. He won the state of New Jersey by 15 points, Joe Biden. So Trump is only 2 behind. This is really, it really is a movement, and I think we'll wake up on Tuesday morning, on Election Day, we'll wake up and we'll actually know who the winner is before the polls even close, before the media even starts covering that. At this rate, assuming this pace continues. Now, the other side, you watch MSNBC, and they say, "Oh, well, the Democrats are coming. We're coming. We're getting our people out, and we're going to get." That could happen. It could. But if this pace keeps up, Trump is doing something like 3 to 4 rallies a day right now. Kamala Harris is only doing 2 a day. He's going all out. He's going for the popular vote. He did an event in California at Coachella where he had thousands of people. He did an event at Madison Square Garden where he had tens of thousands of people inside the garden and outside the garden. He's making a play. He's not good enough with winning 271 to 260, whatever it is, or winning 280 electoral votes. He's going for the Grand Slam.
I love when he shows up at sporting events, whether it's UFC or at football games, and the whole place erupts, like that one game where Navy was playing. And then I heard the media answering back going, "Well, you didn't hear that in the playback, but they were booing. There were actually people booing, and they were not all like that excited." And then we saw the video. What is wrong with you people? They're not talking to us. They're really not talking to us. They're talking to their base, and they're like, whatever you do, we're going to keep saying what you want to hear, no matter how ludicrous it is. The media is truly the enemy of the people. They've lost their minds. They're worthless.
Well, you bring up a good point, and this is something I brought up earlier. People are losing their damn minds. we're getting close. We're now 7 days away by the time that I don't know when this episode's going to go up, but as we record, we're about 7.5 days away. And I'm noticing people are losing their minds. Hitler all of a sudden has come back into our lives, and we're in a new Holocaust. That's this alternate reality that these people live in. And I want to bring up a book. There's a book called The Liberal Mind by Dr. Lyle Rossiter, a psychiatrist out of Illinois. The book was written a long time ago, in, I want to say 2005 or so, and it was rewritten in 2012. The reason why I'm bringing this book up is because this psychiatrist, using neuroscience, talked about the liberal mind, the mechanics of it, the physiology of it, the biochemistry of the liberal mind. And he says in the book, it's a fascinating book. It's very heavy science, so I couldn't understand half of it, which tells you that he really did his research on this. He had a lot of patients who were liberal and who could not handle the Iraq War, who could not handle George W. Bush. Like they couldn't function in everyday life. They couldn't function in their relationships. They couldn't hold their jobs. This is how much a political candidate could hurt this type of brain type, the liberal mind. And so he finished the book by saying, well, he brought it into Marxism because Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto. And Karl Marx, actually, you could say was the first, but he really wrote this book called The Liberal Mind centuries ago, where he basically said, and Karl Marx is a really smart economist, Karl Marx basically said, look, you're always going to have a group of people, a very large group of people, which is going to be at least 50% of society, called the proletariat and the lumpen proletariat. And these people are folks who, the lumpen proletariat, you cannot help them. You meaning they cannot help themselves. You can put them, get them a college degree, they're still going to fit that life. That's the lumpen proletariat. They just don't have what it takes. And I disagree with him on that. I think there are certainly people like that, but I think it's not big. But anyway, that's what Karl Marx said. And then he said the proletariat, these are basically working class people. These are not your entrepreneurs, your business people, your mavericks. These are your people who just work the job and are dependent on their employer, and they're basically enslaved. They're proletariat. The lumpen proletariat and the proletariat, these people have liberal minds. They're not able to think beyond what someone is telling them to do in the workplace. They're not able to think beyond what someone shows them on TV or what they read. There's no questioning, no nothing. It's just, for example, George Bush is Hitler. Okay, well, the TV saying that, it must be true. That's how these people think. That's the liberal mind. And so what Dr. Rossiter says at the end is, he predicted, because this is when Republicans were not doing very well. George W. Bush had lost the House. He lost the Senate in 2006. And everyone knew that he was going to lose those. So that's when he was writing the book. And he predicted, he said, I predict that there will be a Republican candidate. He didn't name any names, he said, I predict there's going to be a candidate who's going to come in, and he or she also, is going to completely manipulate the liberal mind, where the liberal mind, it basically explodes. And that's what we got. He fortunately lived long enough to see Trump. Dr. Lyle Rossiter died in 2019. He was old. He closed his practice. I think he opened up his practice after that because there were so many patients who needed help after Trump won in 2016. So he said, hey, he basically helped create this idea, TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. And he calls out specifically left-wing media like MSNBC, and he says these media types, their audience is that third grade level proletariat class. Third grade elementary level proletariat class will believe anything that they're said, and who will live their life. They will live their lives on that TV screen or on in that newspaper. That's the liberal mind for you, and this is why I say people have lost their minds when they start repeating these very elementary, most of it fake, talking points, and they legitimately think that their lives are on the line. And they promised that they would leave the country in 2016. They did not leave. In fact, I can bring up a chart. I can send it to you. None of them left because, again, we're talking about proletariat and lumpen proletariat. Back to the matter. because they can't afford to leave. They can't afford to pack up and move to Barbados or Indonesia or Argentina. By the way, I know at
The
least
celebrities who could afford, they didn't leave either.
they didn't leave either.
I don't know why
And
anybody would be surprised. They're liars. They've always been liars.
I know
It's
at
like an
least seven
arrested
people.
development, Naresh. It's like an arrested development. It's like high school was just about where it ended, maybe college. And that's the ultimate. That's as far as they go. They're not going to do anything to better it. This is it. This is who I am. I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to expand my territory. I'm just going to completely devote myself to the party that is doing everything they can to completely ruin my own state and my own nation.
Well, that's why
Yeah.
they keep coming back. That's why they get 8 years of Obama, and here they are 8 years later in a worse situation. They keep wanting more, and it's never enough with them. You give them this reparation or this unemployment check or this welfare or this health care. It's never enough. They're not able. And this was Mark. Maybe he was right. He said, "You're in any country. This is not isolated to the United States. You go to my motherland, India. You go to Russia." He said, "This is human nature. These people are not capable of taking care of themselves." And it's almost like they have it's called Stockholm syndrome, where
The persecutor becomes their hero.
exactly. So they have this Stockholm syndrome with Bush, with Trump. It's really strange because you don't see that on the right. There's definitely no like this type of hatred or love from the left or from the right on Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. But these people, it's almost like they're obsessed with Trump, like he's their ex-boyfriend. Even the men who are for Harris, it's almost like had this deep relationship with him, and now they just hate his guts and they can't get him off their mind. But that's the liberal mind, and you got to ask. I remember the governor of Nevada, when a protester interrupted his event at that Freedom Fest. He said, "How much in rent do I have to pay you?" And that's now what I tell these leftists. I say, "How much in rent is Trump paying you?" And they don't understand my question. They're like, "What? I don't know anything real estate." And I say, "Well, he's living in your head, and he's
You live in your head. You might as well be making some money from it. I love I love to watch them uh, accuse us of doing things that they themselves have done. For example, President Trump's age, 78. If and when, God willing, he does win, he's going to be the same age that Biden was when he went in. There is no comparison between the two. Biden was a mumbling, fumbling disaster when you goofballs uh, voted for him. And that was a tragic, stupid mistake. But that's because that's Biden. He's been a cognitive mess for quite a while now. Trump shows no sign of slowing down. His work ethic, his health, everything about him is top notch. And he's doing things at 78 that people 20 years younger than him probably couldn't
Joe
keep a
Rogan for 3.5 hours. He did Joe Rogan for 3.5 hours, then hopped on a plane, went to Michigan, did a rally there, and then hopped on another plane. I think went to Nevada, all in one day. What 78 or 78? Kamala Harris can't even do that at 6.
No. I know it's quite amazing, but to watch them try and make a point out of that, and I'm like, shut up. You voted for a 78-year-old 4 years ago, and look at what a disaster he was. So I don't think it's going to be turning out the same way with this 78-year-old. So why don't you just sit down? The adults are talking. What are your thoughts on what's going to happen after he wins? Are they going to
Well,
let him take office?
yeah, because the whole point, and look, I think one of the best things that happened, and we have to thank Vivek Ramaswamy for this, because he went on a debate stage and he gave the floor to the former RNC chairwoman, Romney McDaniel, and he said, "We lost in 2020 pretty badly. We didn't do well in 2022. We did terrible the day before in 2023 midterms, not midterms, the 2023 elections." And he said, "You resign. Like, you're not," and I, even before he said that, I said, "This woman, she's just there to collect the salary and do the bare minimum." I think what's happened, he started the process in Helsinki backing her. She resigned, and this guy Watley out of North Carolina and Trump's daughter-in-law, who is sharp, she is one sharp woman, Laura Trump. They are now running the RNC. They've done a fantastic job.
Thank God. Thank you, Lord.
Of fundraising, of allocating funds appropriately, of defending the current right-wing record, the conservative track record, what we stand for. This is it's excellent. I think it's really, really good, and they spent a lot of resources on making sure that this election is free, fair, that shenanigans are going to be held to a minimum. So to
I
answer
don't
your
see how.
question,
Can you give me an idea how? Because I haven't seen anyone even on my own side, elected representatives, speaking up against the election fraud and the voter fraud that was so rampant. They don't even talk about it. Nothing's been done to change it, as far as I know.
the RNC has been on top of it, whether it's allowing poll watchers to be there and watch the counting, whether it's filing lawsuits in places like Georgia and Arizona to make sure that every legal vote is counted, whether in Pennsylvania or Nevada or some of these other states, to match the actual signature with the signature that the state has on a, let's say, a driver's license. They've gone above and beyond to do this. And this ties into your question because the left still thinks, and look, I could be wrong, but they think this is going to be close. And anytime you're going to have a close election where the winner wins by less than 20 to 30 electoral votes, people are gonna accuse the other side of shenanigans. We saw it with Al Gore in 2000. We saw it with the Democrats in 2004. We saw it with Democrats again in 2016 with the Russia collusion hoax, and we saw it with Trump in 2020. I actually think now this election, the electoral margin of victory is going to be so high that there's not going to be an attempt that's going to say, hey, look, we lost pretty badly, fair and square. Just like when Obama won the 2 times, there was nothing the Republicans could do to fight that. He won by so much that the candidates, like 10:30 p.m., they conceded, and the whole country moved on. I think that's what's going to happen this time around. I think by 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, that's the latest. You're going to see networks call it for Trump, and Kamala Harris will concede, and Trump will give a victory speech for 11 p.m. and the country moves on. The next day, everybody.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I don't see it that way. I don't trust them at all. I think that there are some very, very dirty tricks that are coming. I'm talking about shutting down of power grids. I'm talking about election tampering that they're going to be accusing and screaming happened. They're already starting it with Iran. Of course, they've always done it with Russia. They're tampering with the election because they want Trump. Why would they want Trump? Dumbass. Why would they want Trump? They don't. So stop saying that, but they'll keep saying it, and they will contest the election so strongly, so loudly. I think that there's going to be protests that are going to erupt across this country. They're going to be horribly violent and well paid for.
Well, that's the key to protest. They've got to be paid for. You know what? I just don't see it because in 2020, that's what happened before the election, and those were sponsored, funded, paid for. And FIFA was involved. I feel like basically this election is too big to rig. Trump is going by so much where it's a waste of money. Why would you do that type of thing? That's why we're not seeing it. Like, this has actually been, if you turn off the news, it's been a very quiet election. Like, the protests on the street, the burning and the looting that we saw in 2020. After the election results in 2016, we saw the same type of protest. I just don't see it. I think that's done. If we had the Israel-Palestine stuff in May with those college students, that's done. I'm a little more optimistic. I actually think that Trump is going to be the person who, surprisingly, because of this landslide, electoral and popular vote landslide, he's going to be the one that unites the country, and he's going to call for unity. And that's part of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. joining his administration. Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat, joining his administration. This is not 2016 anymore. You've already been president for one term. We need to unite. We need to create a movement that's going to last well beyond Donald Trump. So that J.D. Vance can come in 2028, and the next person, Phil Gabbard, can come in after that, and the next person. This is a lifelong movement. So I respectfully disagree with anything. This is all based on opinion. We're not sure. We don't know. I'm just very optimistic. The fact that Trump is going out to New Mexico and Virginia and looking to add Minnesota and New Hampshire to his campaign list or itinerary shows that this isn't as close as people think. And like I said, we're going to wake up Tuesday morning. I think the trends are going to continue in his favor. We're going to wake up Tuesday morning on Election Day, and we will know who's going to be president by then. We will know 15
Wednesday
hours
morning, you mean?
before.
Wednesday morning?
No. Tuesday morning. We're going to know Tuesday morning before the polls even close, because that's what the trends are showing now. That's what the trends are showing.
I'm glad to hear that. That makes me happy. That makes me feel better. Thank you. There's you mentioned Trump wants to unite the country. I hope not at the expense of not bringing people to justice, because that was one of my biggest disappointments with him when he did not pursue charges against the Clintons, even though he campaigned on lock her up. And then when he got in, he said, "Well, they're basically good people, so I don't want to go after them." I hated that. I hated that he said that, and I was sorry that he did that. And if I ever get to interview him, I'm going to go, "Are you sorry you said that too?" Because look what Hillary Clinton has done since then. They are villains. They're criminals. Make them pay. Don't let them get away with this anymore. We can't keep allowing that to happen. But he's talking about now Hunter. Of course, you didn't see it on the NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, but Hunter Biden just got charged with serious felonious convicted tax evasion, all different kinds of things, and payoffs, and so on and so forth. With Daddy is just getting started, and President Trump said just recently, "Well, I would consider pardoning Hunter Biden." Why?
Yeah, here's why. The so fake narrative. Well, let's call it the narrative. The narrative is that Trump is going to become Hitler. He's going to imprison political opponents. What you're going to see happen is Trump's going to come in, and there are a lot of people like you who want him to go after the opponents. He's not going to do it. He's not going to, because he's, again, taking the bait. He's taking it's almost like they want him to do it, because then they can say, "See, look, we have Hitler running this country." He's going to come in, and he's going to say, "Look, here are the biggest issues according to voters. Inflation, the border, education, healthcare." He's going to go down the list. And nowhere does it say going after political opponents. Nowhere did it say in 2020 that throwing Trump in prison was a major issue for even Democrat voters. So his biggest accomplishment, as he already said, is to be successful. He wants to focus on the issues. He wants to make his country great. He doesn't want to go after his political. They might do it to him. And look, the fact of the matter is, that all helps. I told you, it's like these people want him to win. Like, they have this obsession with him. All of that helped him raise money. It helped him increase his profile. It helped him market himself as somebody who was persecuted in the light of Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks or Nelson Mandela or Gandhi. It just helped him. It elevated him as even more of a patriot who's going to go down the history book. So, no, he's not going to go after any of these people. He's going to end up, I think he will end up using Hunter Biden. And again, this is about the future. Does he want to screw up J.D. Vance? Because then J.D. Vance is going to be a part of that administration that did that. So it's pretty right now. This is all a part of the story. In fact, the governor of New York even went and told a bunch of real estate investors, saying, "Hey, don't worry about all these real estate charges. We're just going after Trump. We're not coming after you. Like, this is just a one-off thing."
Yeah.
It's a clear political
And they
ploy.
need to be in prison for election tampering, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I get it. I get that MAGA Trumpsters are really upset because these people are going after their guy. But I said when that first charge was dropped, I said, this is a mistake because they're handing him the Republican nominee. I didn't say they're handing him the election, but I said they're handing him the Republican nominee. I think what handed him the election was Joe Biden was weak. Kamala Harris was weak. That's what handed him the election. But they handed him that nomination. by just zero criminal charges for 77 years of his life, and then in 1 year he gets 80 something criminal charges. Come on, no one's gonna fall for that. If they just charged him for like two things, if it was two charges, I think people would actually believe it more. But when there are 90 some odd charges, nobody can explain any of these charges. Not even the greatest legal scholars can explain these charges. Then it just looks like complete bogus, and that's what it was. And it backfired on them. It's, again, I can't wrap my head around it, how stupid they are for doing this. It's almost like they've rigged this thing to help them.
Well, it's been a lot of fun watching them, first of all, dethrone Joe Biden, even while he was saying, I'm not quitting, but he quit. And it's been hilarious watching this. One thing that I thought for sure was going to happen, and it still might, and I think it's just so they can get in the history books with it as the first woman president. I have a feeling they're still going to 25th Amendment his old ass, and they're going to put Kamala in as president, America's first woman of color as president of the United States. And then what are you going to do? I really think that's probably still coming any day now. What do you think?
Well, I think this election is going to be anticlimactic, and I think a major, again, another mistake. When Joe Biden announced that he was not running, they forced him to do it. He didn't want to do that.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Kamala Harris
In a tweet. He announced it in a tweet. He didn't even go on camera and go, I've served you well, but I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to admit that it's probably time for me to step down, but I've fought hard for you. He did it in a tweet.
He did it in a tweet, and then he disappeared for a week. They said that he was sick.
It was so bizarre. So
he wasn't in
bizarre.
front of any
Did
camera.
you watch any of the Democrat National Convention, by the way?
Yeah.
What'd you think of that?
I thought a lot of it was a joke, especially outside the convention where they were giving out free abortions and free vasectomies. Look, I've had a vasectomy. I would never go to a food truck to get a vasectomy done. And
in a trailer outside of a convention. Yeah. Go ahead and snip away. Yeah, that's fantastic. Good job
free
there,
hot
dude.
dogs too. It was free hot. It was come get your free hot dogs while you get your abortion and free vasectomy. And I don't understand the obsession. Okay, vasectomy, whatever, that's fine. I don't understand this obsession that they have with killing unborn babies. It is a major obsession. Like, they are, again, talking about the liberal mind when you should be focusing on family, on country, on God, on hard work.
Like they were saying in the convention hall.
Yeah.
They kept bringing that up again and again and again.
And,
God, family, country. But yet they didn't even have an American flag anywhere on the stage until Obama hit the stage, and then all of a sudden there are American flags everywhere. I'm like, well, where have they been keeping those? Where did those all come from? They didn't even have
they're more comfortable pledging allegiance to the flag of Palestine. You saw that. You saw that they burnt the U.S. flag and hoisted the Palestinian flag in July when Netanyahu came to the United States to give a speech. They'll bow down to the Palestinian flag. They'll bow down to the rainbow flag. They will burn the U.S. flag. And their obsession with killing unborn life, I completely get it. There are times for abortion, especially if the mom's life is at risk, if the baby, the fetal viability. I completely get it. These are not people who are fighting for mom's life who are at risk. These are not people who are fighting for a baby who's going to be born brain dead. These are people who continue to fight for killing unborn babies all the way up to.
It's like child sacrifice almost to some sort of a wicked deity.
And it's just so weird because they'll go out, they'll march, they'll yell, they'll scream, and a lot of these women, they're, I hate to say it, I don't know who's going to be getting them pregnant. I don't think they would be getting pregnant anytime soon. Many of them are above the age to even get pregnant, and they're going out doing this at the DNC outside. They're giving out free abortions. This is not, folks, Democrat policies. None of these are something to be proud of. An abortion. When I was in college, if you want to destroy a girl's reputation, there used to be this anonymous called Juicy Campus back when I was in college. And if you wanted to destroy a girl's reputation, a college girl's reputation, you said that she got an abortion or that she got multiple abortions. This is not something to be proud of, even today. It's not something to be proud of. Being on unemployment is not something to be proud of. Getting a handout is not something to be proud of. Not doing well on standardized tests and that you got into a school because of your color is not something to be proud of. Getting a job because of the color of your skin or your sexual orientation and bragging about it, that's not something to be proud of. Something to be proud of is being a national scholar on your SAT, getting a perfect score on your SAT, getting a job at Goldman Sachs or on Wall Street or in Silicon Valley. And this buffoon, Tim Walz, I can't even believe he said this, but he accused, I'm saying this is something you shouldn't be proud of. He accused Trump and Vance. He said Donald Trump and J.D. Vance both have Ivy League degrees. Donald Trump fucked up Wall Street, and J.D. Vance went to Yale and then worked in Silicon Valley and fucked up to venture capitalists. He said, I'm proud. I'm a school teacher. I came from a middle class background. I'm a school teacher, and I am proud to say that I've never sent a kid, one of my students, to an Ivy League school. That is not something to be proud of as a teacher.
No, and it's the complete opposite of their usual message too, which is hilarious. You're nothing. You're an idiot if you don't strive to go to college. You're not going to make it. You need to go to college and get indoctrinated, and then you'll be successful. So it goes completely against their message of the past 20, 30 years.
He's not saying don't go to college. He's saying, I'm so proud that my kids are so stupid that none of them have gotten into Ivy League school. That's what he's basically saying.
That is what he's saying.
And that's the point that I'm making, whether it's any policy, the DEI stuff, this diversity. Why, like, one of the most, when Trump went to that NABJ conference and spoke there and he said Kamala Harris was a DEI hire, that's a Democrat policy. They got offended when he said that, and I'm saying, your policy. Why do you have policies that make you offended, that you're embarrassed about? Why are you pro-abortion?
Somebody points it out.
Why are you so pro-abortion, and when someone accuses you of getting abortion, you get upset and angry? Why are you so pro-DEI? When someone calls you a DEI hire, you say that is offensive. Like, none of these policies make any sense whatsoever. They're embarrassing, really. Embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. They're embarrassing. They're embarrassing us to the whole world. They really are. I mean, look at the response in England, which is quite on the left, of where they're holding Trump rallies. In the UK, they're holding Trump rallies because they know that America is the last bastion of hope. America is the last stand against this new world order, one world government, WEF, Klaus Schwab, Justin Trudeau kind of trash. USA is it. We're it. We got to win this election, Naresh. We've got to.
Well, two things. One more, illegal immigration, because you were talking about UK, talking about these other countries. Being illegal is not something to be proud of. That, again, they are pro-illegal immigration. How do we know that? Because the constituency said to open our borders, not all of them, but a good chunk of them, keep the borders open, let everybody in. They deserve to come here. Well, you go to somebody and you call them an illegal, they don't get offended by that, especially if they are legal. So again, why are you supporting a policy that you should be embarrassed about, or that most sane human beings, not even American, most sane human beings would be embarrassed about? And this immigration issue is something, it blew up bigger than I expected because so many legal immigrants, including Indian Americans, I'm born and raised here, but I know so many Indian Americans who immigrated here and they're voting for Trump, and their votes, like, I expect the Indian American vote to be about 40% in favor. That's never happened. Or a Republican has gotten more than 40% from the Indian American. In fact, Trump got more than 30%. It never happened because Indian Americans overwhelmingly over the course of the past few decades have voted Democrat. A major reason why is because of these things that I brought up, like DEI, where we're excluded, we're actually discriminated. We're clumped in with white people, even though we're darker than most of these DEI we're clumped in with white people. And it's not that we want free handouts, it's that you're giving away a spot that could be given to us who are more qualified, more educated. You're putting in somebody who's not qualified, not educated into that position. So we're affected from the SATs and college admissions to working at a tech company. We are affected that way. But the biggest thing, surprisingly, which I didn't know really until last week, so many legal immigrants came here from India on an H-1 visa, or a work visa, or a student visa, and they ended up staying.
Yeah, that's a lot in here in California, a whole lot.
It's a whole lot. And
Silicon Valley.
they had to go through that long and arduous process. It was expensive. It was long. They had no idea how long. And they think it is completely unfair that people are walking across the border and getting free housing and free food and free health care, and they didn't have to go through any of that. They find that incredible. These are people who voted Democrat their entire lives, and they said, I'm only voting for Trump because those people need to go back. They need to go back. It's not fair.
What are these illegals going to do when the freebies dry up?
Well, here's the thing about the illegals.
Because it's going to, whether it's Trump stopping them or whether it's just economic collapse and the freebies stop because we're broke and we're done. What are they going to do?
I'll tell you what's going to happen. First thing is these illegals who are coming in, surprise, aren't as liberal Democrat as you think. They're actually leaving liberal Democrat places like Venezuela, they're leaving socialist and communist countries, and they're coming here. And you'll be surprised how many of them believe in Jesus Christ, believe in God, have families. They're here for the free. They're here to get into this country, hopefully get amnesty, and I think many of them will end up voting Republican. So that's the first thing that I think many people will be surprised about. The second thing is, if Trump gets back in office, there is going to be the largest mass deportation that we've ever seen. It's going to be larger than 2017, 2018. It's going to be so large. He's going to finish the wall. He's going to secure the border with local police. He's going to secure the border with military. He's going to try to end birthright citizenship for children of illegals. And you and I talked about this when I was on your episode last time, where the 14th Amendment is very clear that there is a clause in that amendment that says jurisdiction thereof. Jurisdiction there. These people are the jurisdiction of their home countries, not of the United States of America. They cannot prove with any paperwork that their jurisdiction lies in the United States of America. I think there's a fight to do that and take that to the Supreme Court. Congress to pass it, take it to the Supreme Court. So this is, and then of course freebies. There's going to be the ending of funding for sanctuary cities. So places like Chicago and San Francisco won't have any to house. They're going to just say, hey, we can't house these cars. So there won't be money there. And there's going to be an end to funding to the nations sending their people here. Nations like El Salvador, like Nicaragua, like Guatemala, like Mexico, they're sending their worst to the worst people. And I don't blame them. If the border is open, then...
Exactly. And like Trump himself said, if I were running one of those countries, I'd be dumping my prison population right there at the border too. That's just smart. Get rid of the criminals right now, which are taxing society.
They're dropping their SHIT on us. And where do you drop SHIT? You don't want it in your house. You just try to dump it off somewhere else, right? Well, that's what they're doing.
These people are stupid enough to let them come walking across the border. Here you go. We'll bus them to the border. Walk that way. And if you come back, there's going to be severe consequences. Go, go, go. Get your freebies. Don't come back.
Yep.
I don't blame them either.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, Democrats continually say, America's terrible. America's the worst country. America is becoming a fascist state. I can't live in America. I'm gonna leave America. And these people are lining up to come on, and they're, okay, you Democrats, you all leave. Like, we'll come in and take your spot. Because they're actually smarter than the Democrats in the country, because they know what real persecution and socialism is like. They know what that's like.
Now that's the kind of amnesty I could get behind. We're gonna we pledge we will take the place of a Democrat that's leaving the greatest nation in the world. Absolutely, I'm in. I think that's awesome. Wow, my brother, it's always fun to talk to you. We've been on there for almost an hour, so I should probably let you go so you can get to your nightlife there in Florida. And are you in Miami-Dade County?
I'm not. I'm in Hillsborough County, which has also flipped. It usually goes back and forth. It hasn't voted Republican in a few decades. So Hillsborough County in early voting has flipped. I do want to. I promised that I would talk a little bit about tax cuts versus um, handouts because this is a really important difference and distinction. Republicans believe in tax cuts. Democrats believe in giving away free handouts, just giving away free money. There's a huge difference between the two.
You buy votes. I mean, Governor Hairdo has used that brilliantly here in California and literally got himself a second term just by mailing out checks to people.
But let me tell you the difference between the two because the left will attack. You hear this all the time. Oh, the Trump tax cuts. All they did was benefit the rich. All they did was benefit people who make a lot of money. So I've been using a lot of logic here tonight. So let's talk about logic. I'm a father, and I want my kids to do well. Like I brought up, I want them to become national merit scholars and do well on the SAT and go to Ivy League schools like Tim Walz said. He's so proud he doesn't send anyone to Ivy League schools. I want them to do all that. I want them to become wealthy and rich. I want them to become wealthy and rich. I think most parents, most, want their children to become wealthy and rich. Unfortunately, I've met some radical left Democrats who don't want their children to become wealthy and rich. And here's what I mean by that. When you become wealthy and rich, then you get a tax cut. The tax cut that these people say is harming society. This is not a handout. These people work their ass off to become wealthy and rich. They are not paying lower taxes than the poor person. They are still paying a higher tax. The total dollar amount is still the same. Maybe they're paying the same tax, but again, they wanted to cancel math, the Democrats, because math is racist. If you make $100,000 a year and your tax rate is 10%,
Math is racist, yes.
yeah, your
That's right.
tax rate is 10%, you pay $10,000 in tax if you make $100,000. If you make $10 million, then your tax, the tax that you pay, 10% of $10 million is $1 million. So yes, you pay more in taxes. You'll pay $1 million. So the point that I'm making here is to earn a tax cut, you have to earn the tax cut. You are not given a tax cut. You have to make that much money
Right.
to earn the tax cut. So that's why I actually agreed with Kamala Harris. She said, "Oh, I'm going to get a $50,000 tax credit for small business owners who start new businesses." And I said, I can get behind that because you're encouraging people to actually work and start something of value to get that $50,000 tax credit. Whereas the Democrat way of doing things is you just give away money. It doesn't matter. You don't have to earn
You
it.
buy votes. You buy votes.
Exactly. Well, that's Marxism, right? That's the Communist Manifesto. And so when people attack tax cuts, let me say one more thing about the wealthy. I'm not a part of the wealthy, by the way, but the people who pay my bills, the people who put the money in my bank account because I earned that money, they are, or their bosses and their bosses and their bosses. So you have to remember, the wealthy, called supply side economics, came from Ronald Reagan. He was able to articulate this very well. I'll give an example. If you're wealthy, royal wedding, for example, the royal wedding in Europe. They have a royal wedding because they have a lot of money. And when you have a lot of money, you spend the money on the makeup artists and the decorations and the food and the servers and the bartenders, the liquor, and spending all this money. And all those people you hire to do all that work, their livelihood is dependent on people having events like this. That makeup artist is dependent on people having weddings or plays or whatever to get makeup done. People who cook food are dependent on people having events and catering food. So you need to have money, and that's how money goes into circulation of the economy, because it's wealthy people who spend money. Now, poor people, they don't have a wedding. They probably get married in the courthouse, like very poor, because they can't afford it. So they're not employing the hair and makeup person. They're not employing the chef, or they're not eating at the nice restaurant. So my financial advisor, the guy who sold me my last car, they all want me to do well because they know if I do well, they've got another car to sell me. And then in turn, they will do well. That's how an economy runs. the radical left does not understand basic economics. They want to punish the rich, and they don't understand it's not a question of fairness. By punishing the rich, by AOC, she stands up for the poor person, and Amazon wanted to open up a distribution center in New York, and she stood up and fought.
Shut it down.
Don't
Shut
pay
it down.
taxes.
Thousands of jobs for those people in that area. Could have
exactly.
been thousands of jobs.
You don't pay your taxes. You're the enemy. You're this big tech company. Go away. Go somewhere else. And Amazon said, okay.
She shot it down.
She cost them at least 80,000 jobs. At least 80,000 jobs. That's socialism for you. That's borderline communism because she's trying to control.
Because they're all about posturing. They're all about class envy. They've always used
envy, exactly.
that.
Talking about derangement syndrome, it's envy. It's like they want their kids to be poor. They want the people under them to be poor because it's envy, and they don't.
Dependent. It's a dependent society, isn't it?
It's absolutely cradle to grave mentality, and they don't understand your policies. That's why we keep electing Democrats. They come in and they don't do anything for you, and you come back wanting more. 4 years later or 8 years later, you just come back wanting more and more. So the best thing a parent can do for their kids is to teach them independence and self-sufficiency. I've gone on a parenting podcast talking about that, not non-political. Teaching your kids self-sufficiency and independence. Those are the two most important things. You don't want to raise a 40-year-old who's still your child living at your house completely dependent on you. That's the worst thing you can do. And it starts at age 6 months. It doesn't start at age 10 or starts at 6 months from the time that they need to start sleeping in their cribs by themselves.
Naresh, how do we get in touch with you? How do we follow what you're doing?
My book, Trump Book, is on Amazon. Go on Amazon, type in my name, Naresh Vista. You can find my books on there. I've got one book called Trump Book. Check it out.
Say it again.
Trump Book on
Trump,
Amazon.
Trump Book.
Yep.
That's the name of the book. It's Trump Book.
Yep.
What's the other one? You said you got two
The
of them?
The others are business related books. They're all digital marketing, digital media type of books. But that's my political book.
Trump Book. All right, right on. And a website. You got a website somewhere we can find you and follow along?
Go to I run a digital media marketing agency called Krish Media Marketing, KRISH, mediamarketing.com, krishmediamarketing.com.
KRISH.
That's correct.
Okay. Krish Marketing?
KrishMediaMarketing.com.
Mediamarketing.com. Okay. Gotcha. Your microphone's been breaking up throughout this whole broadcast, but I'm trusting that maybe it's just on my end, but I hope everybody's hung in there because you're a blast to talk to. You always are. And I want to have you on again real soon, my friend. After the election, let's get together again.
That sounds good.
All right, buddy. And you want to help this show, there's a way you can do it, and it is at Venmo, venmo.com/DoNotTalk, venmo.com/DoNotTalk. You want to help this show stay on the air and get some better equipment, that'd be nice too. And also support the companies that are supporting this show, like Mike Lindell's MyPillow. My middle name, Lee, can get you up to 75% off American-made products that are already incredibly low priced and extraordinary quality. I know from experience. I've been buying MyPillow products before they ever invited me to actually be a spokesperson for them. So I'm honored to that they are even using my middle name as a promo code, LEE. Go to mypillow.com/Lee or just mypillow.com, and at checkout, in the promo code they'll ask you about, say Lee, L-E-E. I'll get credit for it, and they will share some of the profit with me. It's another way to help this show grow and buy an American-made product from a true patriot, Mike Lindell. MyPillow.com/Lee. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America, but most importantly, America, bless God.